Welcome. Hello, loved ones. Welcome to our weekly yoga philosophy share. I'm Paisley Parvati Devi, and today is a special day, you guys. So many reasons why it's a special day. We have the full moon in Cancer today, the last full moon of 2020. 2021 is just around the corner. We had the winter solstice last week. So magical. So the astrological energy is really potent right now for setting intentions for the year to come, for wrapping things up, bringing things to a close for 2020, and setting new intentions in terms of leaving old habits behind that don't serve us and stepping into a new habit or a new replacement behavior that does serve us. And I thought it would be appropriate to be next to the altar today because in the introduction to this video series, I'm by the altar, and so I thought it would be appropriate to end by the altar because today is the last video, you guys, the last video of this series. It's another really big milestone for me for 2020 because this is the second time through this year that I've read these books. Or this book rather, and the book is the Yamas and Niyamas, Exploring Yoga's Ethical Practice by Deborah Adele. So just about every Tuesday for this whole entire year, I think I started in March or so not quite the whole year, but every Tuesday I've been going live, doing these yoga philosophy shares with you guys, and I've really enjoyed it. All of the previous videos are uploaded onto playlists on YouTube, and I can copy paste the link for you guys into the description box after I'm done going live. If you're watching this on YouTube, then the link for the full playlist is going to be in the description box as well. So if you're interested in yoga philosophy at all, I highly recommend checking out the series because today we're actually just doing a conclusion. We finished the book last week, and so we're just going to kind of go through a little bit of a summary for each part of the book today. Hi, welcome. I love you guys too. And I opened the video with saying that today is a full moon in Cancer. My sun sign is Cancer, so I'm super curious what all of your zodiac signs are and what kind of people, what kind of signs are attracted to these videos. So comment, let me know what your sign is. So I've been reading from this book, and like I said last week, we finished it. But if you're curious about what the Yamas and Niyamas are, I teach them as beginners yoga philosophy because they are foundational to all yogic thought, really. So if you're new to yoga, or if you're someone who's been studying yoga for a while and you're ready to go deeper, these 10 tenets or guidelines are going to be a great jumping off point for any type of yoga philosophy study that you would like to do. And it's actually said that these guidelines these are guidelines to live a righteous life or to live a life that is going to bring you more internal peace. And when you are experiencing internal peace, then the people around you are going to feel that, and it will bring them a level of peace as well. So the first 5 tenets, or the yamas, the actions to be cultivated the actions to be restrained in order to attain inner peace. I'm getting distracted by the comments now, you guys. So the first 5 tenets, the yamas, are actions to be restrained in order to attain inner peace. I always say that they are more relating to our relationships with others and the external world. And then the last 5 tenets, the niyamas, are actions or behaviors to be cultivated in order to attain inner peace and live a righteous life. So these are going to have to do more with our internal situation and our own relationships with ourselves, our internal landscape, if you will. So we'll go over the summary of all of those in just a minute, and then she has a little epilogue at the end of the book that I'll read for you guys. But in the introduction video to this series, I pulled a card from my tarot deck, and so I thought it would be appropriate to end off with pulling a card. For the first video, we pulled the Queen of Swords, which I thought was appropriate. Ooh, we had one pop out. For starting a new endeavor. And today we have, the Star. So it looks like this tarot deck is a little bit different actually a lot of it different than the actual traditional tarot deck, but you can see what it looks like, and it says the grandfathers, and you can see it's a group of people, kind of looks like they're pointing a child, giving some guidance to a child on his journey. It looks like he's heading off to greener pastures, to a beautiful waterfall and some mountains in the background. And you can see this is the star card. The star is all the way at the top there, and numerologically the star card is 17. So if you add 7 plus 1, that equals 8. Interestingly enough, before I brought the card over and started recording, I pulled the 8 of Pentacles, I believe it was. So we have another 8, because 7 plus 1 equals 8. To me, 8 means stability. It symbolizes longevity, also transformation, could symbolize like taboo and darkness as well, but largely transformation, you know, and it's more of like a stable, since it's an even number, it's more like grounded and strong, getting closer to the number 10, right? So 10 would symbolize ultimate fulfillment, 8 is getting closer to it, so we're not quite there, and I feel like that's appropriate for this series because I'm talking about 2020 wrapping up, and we're almost there. We're not quite there yet, but I am grateful for you guys for coming on this journey with me. And in 2020 we have 22 yoga videos, so this series, today's video, is the 22nd video, so it's the last of the series. I thought that was really cool. Somebody just pointed that out to me yesterday, that we have 22 videos now, and I didn't do that on purpose, but it goes with 2020. And interestingly enough, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I also have a coloring book that I published earlier this year, and the coloring book has 22 pages, which I didn't necessarily do on purpose. That's just the number that felt right to me, and I didn't think about it being 2020, but it goes together. So magical times, you guys. I'll stop yammering and get into the reading, okay? So if you haven't had a chance to look at any of the previous videos, again, I definitely recommend doing that. It's going to put the summary into a lot more context. If you haven't had a chance to check them out, you can always do it later. This will just give you a little bit of a nice overview and a wrap-up of what we've been studying together. So this section is titled Reviewing the Yamas. And again, remember, those 5 yamas are the behaviors or actions that we want to restrain ourselves from in order to attain inner peace. Not long ago, I was traveling with a friend who had just purchased a new Prius with a GPS. I enjoyed the adventure of having a computer talk to me and make sure I was on the right path. I laughed hilariously when my friend continued to drive straight after the computer had given instructions to turn right. The computer immediately responded with, "Drive forward and make an illegal U-turn." Anyone else have that experience? Where I'm living right now, I don't think U-turns are legal, so it is always kind of funny when the GPS is like, immediately make a U-turn, make an illegal U-turn. The yamas are like our personal GPS. They tell us when we are going in the wrong direction and that we need to make an immediate legal U-turn. They let us know that when we are making a negative impact on the world, and invite us to turn around and take a step towards harmony instead. So coming into self-awareness, right, of how our actions and our attitudes are not only impacting people around us, but ultimately impacting ourselves, right? And these guidelines are giving us an opportunity to course correct. The yamas are not simple answers. They are instructions to move in a certain direction. They require familiarity and daily practice. Hence why I've made this my practice for 2020, is sharing with you guys. In my lineage, we have a saying, teach to learn. So as I am sharing these concepts with all of you, which I enjoy to do so much, I am also learning them a little bit deeper for myself. So the yamas require familiarity and daily practice. As our personal GPS, the practices of nonviolence, truthfulness, non-stealing, non-excess, and non-possessiveness turn us from harming others and ourselves into kindness and compassion for ourselves and others. They turn us from lies and half-truths to expressing our uniqueness and authenticity, from theft to cultivating new skills and abilities, and from greed to appreciation and pleasure without excess, also from attachment to intimacy without possession. So those are just bullet points that she gives, but to kind of go through them a little bit more. So the first one is called ahimsa, or nonviolence, and it's said that if you can fully embody nonviolence, then you've successfully embodied all 10 of the yamas and niyamas, and you're essentially enlightened. So it's a high goal to aspire to, but it's something that's giving us an example of where ultimately we're aiming, which would be the highest level of nonviolence. So ahimsa, nonviolence, from harming ourselves and others to do our U-turn to compassion and kindness for ourselves and others. The next tenet is going to be satya, or truthfulness, and this gives us an opportunity to turn away from lies and half-truths or withholding the truth, just not being completely transparent and authentic, to turning that around, giving us the opportunity to be fully ourselves, fully present with the reality of what is, and this is authenticity, this is integrity. The third yama is asteya, or non-stealing. This is giving us an opportunity to turn away from theft. Even something like being late could be considered as stealing someone's time or stealing your own time, or you could lie to yourself and be inauthentic with yourself, and you're stealing from yourself in that sense the opportunity to show up as who you really are in full integrity. That's a big opportunity that you're stealing from yourself. So asteya, this tenet, gives us the opportunity, instead of doing that, we show up as we really are and cultivate new skills and abilities. Thank you guys. Love to hear your comments as I'm going here. The next tenet is going to be brahmacharya. This translates directly into walking with God, walking alongside God, or walking the divine path. If you aren't comfortable with the term God, feel free to replace that with nature, your higher self, your intuition, anything that does resonate for you. So this concept of brahmacharya, or non-excess, is giving us the opportunity to, instead of being greedy and attached and grabbing and I need more all the time, we are enjoying instead the pleasure without excess. So enjoying pleasure for what it is without needing to hold on to it and continue to always expect that same amount of pleasure or gratification from whatever it is that we're enjoying, right? So it's enjoying the pleasure without becoming attached to it in the sense that you would be disappointed when that thing goes away. Easier said than done, I know. And the last one, the cherry on the top of the cake or the top of the ice cream sundae for the yamas, is called a parigraha, and this is going to be non-attachment. So going on that same vein of thinking, turning away from this unhealthy levels of attachment, I need things to be a certain way or else I'm not okay, turning away from that mentality, instead going towards intimacy without possession. And to me, this is like true love. This is the highest level of unconditional love, where you see that thing and you see the beauty of it for how it is, or that person, and you just want what's best for that person. You just want them to be happy, whether or not they're acting in the way that you think they should act, or whether or not they're in your life in a certain way. You just want them to be happy. And so to me, this non-attachment is the most efficient and effective way to do that. Does that make it easy? Certainly not. But if you have watched any of the other videos, we go into all of those concepts very thoroughly. Every single one of them has 2 videos on the subject, so if none of that made sense, don't worry, the videos are there and you're more than welcome to go back and check them out for yourself, and maybe that'll give a little bit more context and help understand these concepts. Because if this is your first time hearing these things, you guys, don't worry if it's just not clicking, and maybe it kind of makes sense but it's hard to wrap your mind around it at first. That's totally normal. We need to come back to these concepts again and again to not only intellectually understand them, that's like the first step, and then to actually embody them and practice them, that's another step. The yamas address the fact that we are social creatures alive on a planet full of other life forms, where we need to learn to live together and share the goods. The yamas, or restraints, invite us into an adult relationship with the world, where we can see past our own needs into the collective good. In that sense, we can think of them as social disciplines, guiding us into harmony, peace, and right relationship with the world. The Yamas pull us back from needing so much that is external and point us toward the unique expression of our own lives. It is here that we feel the excitement and joy of living. Thank you guys. Love hearing your comments. So as we turn now to the disciplines of the Niyamas, we move our attention from an adult relationship with the world to an adult relationship with ourselves, and from a social focus to an internal focus. So I really like that. And that's kind of what I was trying to say at the beginning. The Yamas are more so relating to external things and our external relationships. We need to clean that up before we can move to the Niyamas and start focusing on our internal landscape, because really they're one and the same, but it is our natural tendency to look outward and see other people, external stimulus and external situations in the world, and then kind of relate that back to ourselves and our own internal landscape, when in reality it's actually the opposite way. What we see on the outside, what we're perceiving and understanding on the outside, is actually a reflection of what's happening on the inside. But with these tools, this toolkit of the Yamas and Niyamas, we're able to explore what that relationship is like, not from the perspective of all the outside things and people being bad and causing me problems and frustration, but rather, oh, what is my internal reaction to this external stimulus? And when I can see and observe that more clearly, then I can start to implement some of these changes and ultimately craft a situation for myself that is going to feel a little better and feel a little bit more spacious. And then I can look at the relationship that I'm having with myself and start to expand internally from there. Expand internally. It's a nice paradox for you. That is basically yoga philosophy, you guys. You have a whole universe that lives inside you. In fact, you are the whole universe. Did you know that? Alright, so this section is titled Reviewing the Niyamas now. And so the second 5 tenets, which are, again, relating more to our internal experience, our relationships with ourselves. Several years ago, I made a major change in my life. Events came together in such a way that I asked myself the question, just how good can I feel? I began to wonder if every year I could feel better and have more vitality and clarity. At the time, the question felt radical to me, and as I looked around at the American expectations of aging, I decided it was worth the experiment and that I would make choices in diet, activity, and thinking that would support this exploration. The Niyamas, or observances, are an invitation into a radical exploration of possibility. Just how good can you feel? Just how joyful can your life be? We will never know unless we consciously make choices to support this exploration. The 5 Niyamas outline the shape of these choices. And just what's coming up for me as I'm reading this is, I think, on a physical level, the most basic, gross form of our physical bodies, at least in the US, what I've noticed is so many people are not connected with that at all. They're used to living completely in their minds, doing work and analytical kind of task. And so we have that same approach to our bodies even, and saying like, oh, if I reach a certain weight on the scale, then I know that I will feel good or look good. But it's not really about that number on the scale, it's about your own experience. And so we're not realizing how good we can really feel. You don't start to realize that until you start to take steps and become more embodied. So for me, all of my life growing up, I didn't really feel connected to my body until I found yoga. And I remember being like 8 years old, 10 years old, and trying to do dance class and just felt so awkward and self-conscious. I couldn't even enjoy dancing because I didn't feel like my body was trustworthy. I didn't know how to move in my body, and I hadn't cultivated that relationship yet. So I didn't know how good I could feel. It wasn't until years and years later that now I've been studying yoga, performing yoga, doing yoga, practicing yoga for years, and now I have a much deeper understanding of trust and relationship with my body, and so I feel a lot better in my body. But 8-10-year-old me didn't know that that was even possible, right? So if you aren't aware of the possibilities, then you can't aspire to something. So again, with the concept of health in general, I think a lot of people are just so used to not feeling good that they don't even realize that it's an option to feel good. But once you realize that's an option, first of all, and then take steps to actually get there, you feel better and better and better. And so I think that's kind of the process that she's describing here. Then you start to get to a level where you're like, oh wow, I feel really good. Is it possible to feel better than this? And how good can I feel? You know, where I am right now, I do feel good in my body, but I still see other people who can do flips and back flips and front flips and headstands and all this crazy core work and stuff that I still can't do. And I love my body, and so I'm going to keep working toward those goals as a result of the love that I have for myself. I'm motivated to feel even better in my body. But it's just having that external kind of example of how to improve yourself. So how good can we feel? How joyful can our life be? Is it even possible? Are we in a place where we're not realizing how good things can really be, and can we aspire towards that? So there is not a right and wrong to this exploration, nor is there a better and worse. Like the Yamas, the Niyamas point us in the direction of something better than we are now aware of. It is as if we have 5 seeds to plant and care for in our inner being. They are the seeds of purity, contentment, self-discipline, self-study, and surrender. So she's saying that these niyamas, these actions to be cultivated, behaviors to be cultivated in order to gain inner peace, they're akin to planting seeds within ourselves that we tend to. We nurture them on a regular basis, right? And this is how they start to bloom and blossom. So the first one, cleansing our bodies, our speech, and our thoughts. This is known as saucha, or the practice of purity. And then falling in love with our own life. This is known as the practice of santosha, or contentment. Consciously choosing discipline and growth. This is self-discipline, or it's called tapas in Sanskrit. And then knowing the self, knowing ourselves, both on an ego level, the little I self, and capital S self, capital I self, the higher self, the intuition, the Mahat, cosmic consciousness, right? The collective intelligence that we all share, right? This is called self-study, or svadhyaya. And then the last tenet is paying attention to what life is asking of us, or surrender. Ishvara Pranidhan, surrender to the divine essence, the divine will, surrender to nature and the present moment. As these seeds began to bear fruit, we will become unshakable as we experience an inner essence of deep harmony and strength and access to joy that bursts forth with every breath. The niyamas are both the invitation and the guideline for this exploration. So just like I was saying with my fitness journey, it wasn't until I had been practicing yoga for years and years that I realized, oh, I can feel really good in my body. Is it possible to even feel better than this? And that's the point that she's kind of making with the niyamas. It's not like you just start practicing them and then you're perfect one day. That's not true for any tenet in this philosophy. It's a constant, lifelong practice. Many teachers will say it even takes multiple lifetimes of constantly practicing these and just tending to your seeds, watching them blossom, and when they have blossomed, then you realize that you feel amazing, and it's possible to just continue to feel better and better and better as you do more of this internal work. So I'll read the epilogue now. This is at the very end of the book, and it's titled Moving On. As a child, I loved pretending I was a horse. Not just any horse, but a beautiful, black, fast horse, freely galloping over open countryside and taking giant leaps over anything in my way. Although my relationship with horses has remained in my imagination, I still love them. They are beautiful animals, and I brim with the thrill of watching them race with strength and grace on an open field or take those beautiful leaps in equestrian competition. The theologian Peter Marty, in speaking about equestrian competition, had some interesting observations. He stated, those of us who only contact with the world of Those of us whose only contact with the world of equestrian competition is via the television set find the elegance and ease of those leaping beasts to be almost surreal. We marvel at the calmness of the riders. We admire the cool focus as they vault their way over the hurdles and wonder if those riders have some extra instinct that the rest of us lack. Marty further went on to talk about equestrian training. He noted that one of the most common obstacles all riders face is their own perception. Much time in training is devoted to the skill of the rider's own perception. It is known in the equestrian world that unless a rider can approach these upcoming barriers with a kind of anticipatory confidence, they will never be able to make those great leaps with their horses. Peter noted that one trainer put it this way: you have to take your heart and throw it over the fence and then jump after it. We began this book with the premise that we are all engaged in the task of learning to become more fully human. As we look inside ourselves and outside at the world, we can see the immensity of this task. There are interesting times we find ourselves in. The polarities of our humanity seem like they are lit up in neon signs that we can't miss. We are witness to acts of brutality and greed that baffle our sensitivities and bring horror and disbelief to our hearts. We are also witness to acts of extreme compassion and kindness that inspire us with the potential that burns to be known in each one of us. As I look at the world, it feels to me like we're trying to make a big choice about who we are as humans. How timely is that, you guys? This book is about 10 years old, by the way, but I feel like it's so timely for everything that's happened this year. It feels like we are trying to make a big choice about who we are as humans, and each one of us is part of this choice. The question then becomes, are we ready? Are we ready to grow ourselves into the best that spirit can be, as it knows itself contained in a human body? Are we able to imagine days, lives, and systems, and community the way a fully realized human would live them? Are we able to put our lives and our skill into bringing about this kind of world within us and around us? Are we able to take our hearts and throw them over the fence and then jump after them? I think being a human being must be one of the hardest and most exciting adventures we could ever be engaged in. In this experience, we get to relish the taste of fresh strawberries and ice cream, melt into a lover's embrace, marvel at a child's innocent eyes, and delight in hikes in the woods and along beaches. We also get to weep deep wells of sorrow and grief and feel gusty torrents of rage and anger. Out of this vast continuum of emotions, ranging from fear to compassion, we are capable of actions that impact the lives of others in rippling effects that would probably surprise us. We are bringers of suffering and light to this world in profound ways. This is an amazing reality that we need to affirm and then use skillfully. Lest we think the task too great for us, Anne Maxwell reminds us that it is the daily choices we must pay attention to. She writes, "It is relatively easy to be kind, compassionate, open, and expansive sitting on the safety of a yoga mat. I can be deeply in love there. I can offer my practice as a prayer. But the question remains, will I choose love once I step off this mat? The true test of love comes in the moment-to-moment ordinariness of life. Will I remain open as I walk back to my car in the dark? Will I find compassion in the face of judgment, both yours and mine? Righteousness, both yours and mine? Will I keep the love connection with my breath when I'm running behind? Will I choose faith when my loved ones are in need? Will I be kind with house chores, interruptions? These are the moments that are our choices of fear or of love are the most challenging and crucial." Beautiful. So to meet these daily tasks of living and larger visions for humanity, perhaps we, like equestrian riders preparing to take those big leaps, can be served by studying our own perception. Perhaps we could all use a boost of anticipatory confidence. Perhaps we need to trust those big and little leaps ahead of time and throw our hearts over the fence, then jump after them. Reminds me of another story that she shares in the last chapter of this book. She shares about someone having a dream, and they dream that they see someone I think it's a woman, and the woman just proclaims, "The way to have a good day is to open up your heart and let God in." So throw your heart over the fence and then go running after it. Just taking that leap of faith and trusting, having that faith and belief that all will be well, that whatever it is you need will come through in the moment. The Yamas and Niyamas are the foundation for studying our own perception and for boosting our anticipatory confidence as we deal with the challenges and joys of our collective and singular humanity. May you know the power of these 10 jewels to guide and shape the integrity of your life as you embark on this grand human experiment. And that's it, you guys. That is the end of the book for realsies this time. Thank you so much for going on this journey with me. Again, if you haven't seen the other videos in the series, I definitely recommend going through them and taking what serves you, leave the rest. I think it's important to at least study and have a surface level understanding of each of the 10 tenets of the Yamas and Niyamas, but if there's one in particular that you really feel resistance toward, that's probably the one that you need to work on. And as I'm saying that, I'm having a particular one come to my mind that I'm like, yeah, probably. It's always the places with the most resistance that could benefit the most from some compassion, patience, and nurturance, just putting our energy into that. So we kind of went over the 10 of them today. I would love to hear your thoughts and reflections on this. What is the skill that you feel you could benefit most from cultivating? Hello, hello. Thank you all for coming in. And yeah, that's it, you guys. That's it for the series. I definitely want to stay consistent with videos in general, and I think instead of putting them on Facebook, I'm gonna be putting them on YouTube in the future. So if you're not already subscribed to me on YouTube, check it out. The channel is called Live It to Yogini. And in the new year, I definitely plan on continuing with about one YouTube video per week. I don't think I'll do another series. I might go back through and edit this one, but I'll probably be doing some new content, a new project in the new year. So very excited for that. If you absolutely have loved these videos and want to go deeper with me, we would love to have you over in our Patreon community. I do a deep dive into the 8 limbs of yoga. I also offer some guided meditation and breathing practices and recipes. I just wrote a new recipe last night that I'm excited about. So lots of great content on there. It's patreon.com/liveittyogini, and for just $3.33 per month, you can be a part of that and gain access to exclusive content with me and more of my attention and energy. It's very easy for me to communicate more with my patrons than just, anyone on the internet. Anyway, thank you guys, and I hope that you have an amazing rest of 2020. Set those intentions, get in touch with, what you need, what you want to plan for and bring in the coming year. Again, today is such a powerful time for that, being the full moon, and 3 days after the full moon, you can still utilize the energy. So make some lists, set your intentions, set your altar, make some offerings to the goddess, and take care of yourselves. Have a great day, you guys. Talk soon. Peace.